Alright guys, today we're going to talk about the Zen-oh leader. This is the one of the new blue decks to come out in set 27. It is a semi-invoker leader. I want to say semi because I think this is not going to play exactly how people are picturing Invoker. At least from previous, with Limit Surpassed, this is not going to be the same type of deck. So the Zen-oh deck, I feel like it can be okay. I think this is going to be somewhat of a deck that's going to need more support as sets go on for it to be considered competitive, like really competitive. Because really right now it's sort of mixing identities with like a typical blue deck, and then also kind of sprinkling in some accents of Invoker, which again I think it's more of a complementary thing to the deck rather than being the main deck focal point. Even though it kind of makes it seem like the deck should be focused solely on playing Invoker stuff, right? So we'll go over the list here. I spent, I would say, more time with this leader so far than with any of the decks that I've made so far for the new set, just because there's so many different ways you can build this deck. So I have a pretty good list, I want to say, of cards that you can include from other, just from like the main deck options. So we'll go over everything together and see what you guys think about it. So we have the leader here. When on attack, you take up to 1 life, search top 3, look at the top 3 cards, so one at a time if you would like to, and then you add a blue god or a blue extra card to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck, awaken at 5 life, you're a draw 2 leader, right? Other side, you attack, you draw 1, and then auto, if your god card with an Invoker skills in play, and you switch 1 red-blue multicolor extra in your battle area to rest mode, you then switch a red-blue multi from your, when you activate a red-blue multi from your hand, switch it to one of your energy to active mode. A lot of text, right? So essentially you get to tap down a multicolor extra card in your battle area. When you activate an Invoker extra card, you get to restand an energy. So basically you get to activate 1 extra card for free if you're using the Invoker skill, which is, if you have Invoker keyword in play, you can tap a red-blue multicolor to to activate a red-blue extra card for 1 energy, regardless of its energy cost, right? And then activate main for 1 blue, remove 1 red-blue multicolor card in your battle area from the game, then choose it to one of your opponent's battle cards and remove it from the game. This is kind of like a gimmick effect. Is it strong? Sure, it's a strong effect. It doesn't get through indestructible, which is kind of funny. So it doesn't get through barrier. So it's not really incredibly strong. It's just kind of there. So I don't know why that's, I don't know. It just seems weird that's, it should have just said choose 1 card ignoring barrier, negate its skills, and then remove it from the game. But that part just kind of it kind of makes the leader just meh, because this effect is part of, like, half the cards just not really great. All right, so the deck itself, obviously primarily red and blue cards, right? So we'll start with the sentencing cards is what I call them. So these are your Invoker pieces. These are your gods that are Invokers. Dual attack with Invoker that you can play for 1 also counts as a check land if you have a non-version of this card in your energy already. Zamasu, same thing. He now has Indestructible. You play him for 1, you draw, and you also can discard a god card with Invoker skill from your hand. He then gains Invoker for the turn. So he's an interesting card against everything but red, because he'll almost never be removed. He just can sit on board the entire time with the 20k, who can swing, and then you can give him Invoker at any point, and then you can also then activate the Invoker skills. Beerus, kind of the same thing as Champa, however he's a crit, and then he also minuses a battle card or a unison by 20k, which is very good. So like minusing unisons by 20k, that's incredible. That's a free marker. Also, just being a crit is also just very impactful as well. Then we have the non-blue, I guess the non-Invoker gods here. So not really gods, they're angels, but whatever. So we have we have Margarita here, which is a counterattack. So it is a negate. If you have a red-blue multicolor extra in your battle area, you can play this card for free by taking a life instead. So this is a free negate. Activate battle, discard 1 extra red-blue multicolor from your hand to draw a card and give your leader or a battle card or any card 11k for the battle. So this should be really familiar to people who have played Invoker in the past or have played against it. This is basically the Limit Surpass leader effect with a few extra changes, right? This is specifically a red-blue multicolor extra, while I think the Limit Surpass was a blue extra, or a blue or a red extra. I can't remember exactly. And then it was a draw 1, and then it gave 5k to the leader for the turn, and then you could take a life. And that was every battle. This is once per turn in a battle step. You could draw a card, discard an extra, gain 11k. I think this is really powerful for the deck. We'll talk about why I think it has some interesting synergy with other cards in the deck. But this is something you have to see of. You have to see it. It's a 4 of. I don't think you can run any less of it. And we have Vados, which is a blocker. For 1 energy, you can add a red-blue multi back from your drop area that costs 2. And then at the end of the turn, switch this card to active mode. So this is also a 20k attacker that's going to restand as a blocker, also draw you a card. There is a Whis as well for this archetype that is a similar effect, except he bounces a card back to hand. I don't play that in the deck. During testing, like testing as in like testing hands on untap in tabletop, it's not great. I think this is a better card overall. And there's just not a lot of room for like everything needs to have some somewhat like substance. I think the Whis is just not good enough to play in the deck. Our super combo of choice is going to be Zen-oh instead of Beerus. The reason is we want to be able to pick stuff back up. So if we charge any of these cards early, or any of our like red-blue multicolor cards, because turn 1 technically is you need to charge a red-blue multi, and then turn 2 you charge a check land, so that way you have access to your red-blue. After turn 2, unless you're charging one of these because you specifically need it, you're probably just charging mono blue, and then this card's going to allow you to just being able to replace dead energy with blue energy, and then just making sure that you're constantly having active mode energy. Also, you can play it for 1 and draw a card if you would like. He also is searchable off of the leader, which is cool. He also is, Beerus would be searchable off the leader as well, but I think the ability of just taking a card and then adding a card back, I think is a little more important in this deck. We have 3 of the Destroyer and Angel rare card from forever ago. It's funny how expensive this card got. I'm pretty sure I have multiple of this card. I need to find them and sell them. But if you have 3 more energy when a red or blue battle card is removed from your battle area, you play it from your hand for free. You can't play copies of it for the turn. It's a blocker Invoker. Then at the end of the turn, you bottom deck this card from your battle area and draw a card. So this gives you access to Invoker if you absolutely need it as like an emergency. If your Invoker card gets bounced, popped, whatever, you can play this card for free. And now they have to get through this card and remove it. Again, you basically have to remove a second Invoker card, which some decks can do really easily, some decks can't. And then also, if it doesn't get removed, now you have basically a free draw 1 cycle. We have 4 of the Grand Priest. I keep saying Grand Priest, but it's Great Priest. Sentencing. 2-drop Invoker, dual attacker. You pay for one red and 1 blue. Draw 3. When this card's played, place this card from your hand, then place 2 cards from your hand on the top of the owner's deck in any order at the end of your opponent's turn. So you get to draw 3 cards on your turn, then at the end of your opponent's turn, you add 2 cards from your hand back to the top of the deck. I don't really understand the concept of doing it at the end of your opponent's turn, because you're just going to draw one of those cards. But on your turn, it does give you the satisfaction of having an extra 3 cards in your hand during your turn, and then during your defensive turn, which I think is the important part, is just being able to see more cards for your defensive turn. It's a really strong card. It's got Invoker, it's got dual attack, it's a 25k, so unlike the rest of the cards in your deck that are all 20ks and below, they can just die to like defeating the demon and stuff like that. This is a 6-drop as well. I mean, it goes with this stuff, but like these are all 20ks. Being a 25k, I think, is really powerful. I think, truthfully, they should have given these... Like, this is okay to have indestructible. This should have had indestructible or barrier or something, because it's a 2-cost. Like, this is almost as equally, like, removable as, like, Champa and Beerus are. So, but it is a god. We need to play the red-blue cards, so we have the red 4 of them. Now for our... I don't want to say our main win condition, but one of the conditions you actually can use in this deck is going to be the old burn strategy with Energy Explosion. So Rival Seeker here, you can play on turn 5, if you add 2 red-blue multicolor cards from your warp to your hand, which I'm going to show you some ways of being able to do that. You can play a 6-cost Son Goku on top of it. So we play this guy. All right, this guy also has Invoker. When he's played, you basically swap 3 cards from your energy into the drop, and then add 3 of any cards, which can be the same cards, back to your energy with the energy exhaust negated. So you get 3 free energy. So basically on turn 5, you pay 3 for Rival Seeker. You then play this card. You get 3 energy back. Now you have 5 energy or 6 energy, however many energy you have for that turn, plus a 35k Invoker on board. And when this card sees damage, you deal an additional damage. So the old school way is that you would use this card here, Catastrophic Blow, which deals a damage if you have a red-blue Son Goku card in play, or you have no battle cards in play. You can use this card, whether it's for 1, for 5. I mean, in this deck, if you don't have the Goku on board, you have to tap 5 for it. Or if you, at least if you have the Goku on board, you can tap 1 for it. Deals a damage, right? So this card deals a damage. This card then deals a damage. So you can kill them from 2, right? This is not the primary way of winning the games. I think you have enough just value in the deck to just kind of just push your opponent down and then use this sort of as like a backup. This card also can warp itself from the drop area, and then look at the top card of the deck. If it is a multicolor extra card, you can add it to your hand. So this is one of the things that kind of like works with the Grand Priest. If you have this card in the drop already, you can draw 3. At the end of your opponent's turn, you put an extra card. You put 2 extra cards on top of your deck. You'll draw a card for the turn, and then you can just use this to warp itself. Look at the top card, add the extra card to your hand, and then once you have 2 and you're at 5 energy, you can then play this. Right. Also didn't talk about this, but this card permanently has a effect. If you have a red-blue multicolor extra in the drop, this card gets reduced by 1 for its combo cost, so it's a free 10k combo. Right. So this is, again, sort of like a side thing. I mean, I think you have enough, like, you have a lot of pressure with the deck as well, so you can, push your opponent down. But this is just nice just to have in your back pocket as a burn tool. And then we're going to go into the extra cards here. So these are the only 3 that I'm currently running in the main deck for a multitude of reasons. One, again, I don't think this deck is solely focused on using the Invoker skill. For all of the other things, like you have Sleepy Boy and Emperor's Death Beam, which I think are good cards, and we'll talk about them. But I think you really should kind of rely on the cards that are going to give you instant value, rather than focusing on like making sure, because like these are all 2 costs, right? So these all can be brought back from Vados, right? These all count towards the rival skill effect. Obviously, you can grab them off Catastrophic Blow. You can search all of these cards, but these all have just other effects that I think make them a little more valuable than the 3 and 4 and 5 cost Invoker cards. So Godpad is a draw 2, give a God battle card, restand it, and then give one of your cards 15k. So this also can be used on your leader. So if you have an Invoker in play, it's a draw 2, give your leader 15k for the turn. That's pretty good for 1 energy. You have Satisfying Parfait, which is a counterplay that draws you a card, and then also minuses a battle card or a unison by 20k. The bottom effect's cool. You can give an Invoker God card double strike, so like you can give like one of these guys double strike, which is pretty sweet. But again, like the counterplaying factor is really good for like even 2 energy, but like 1 energy in particular, like you can just counterplay anything and just kill it. So like there's certain matchups where you can just stop your opponent from just functioning early because you have this counterplay available, right? And then you have Future, which is a really unique field spell. So you activate this card. Anytime you activate the Activate main once per turn, it is a draw 1. So you will always draw an extra card on your turn. Then, if you have a blue God card in play, you bounce a 7 cost or less back to your opponent's hand. So you have any of these cards in play, except for these 2, any of these other cards in play, this is a draw 1, bounce anything back for no energy. That's really good, right? Again, Invoker field, it's an Invoker field, so you can play it for 1, draw a card, and then like the Activate main is just gonna be once per turn, so you're just drawing every turn. This is really powerful. I include in 3 of this because you want to see this on turn 2. Ideally, how you're going to do this is that turn 2, you're going to turn 1, you're going to charge a red-blue multi, right? That's just, you have to charge red-blue multi. It doesn't matter which one you charge because we play Zen-oh, so you can grab anything back, right? Then turn 2, you play one of these guys. Any of these guys can be played on turn 2. So like this card has no energy requirement. This guy has no energy requirement. Champa, no energy requirement. Right? So you can play any of these. Preferably probably Zamasu because it's going to draw you a card, right? So you play this. You can draw a card, discard a card, get Invoker, or again, Champa or Beers, right? Then you can play one of these. You can then play this card on turn 2. Have your red-blue multi up. You're going to draw a card off of it. And now you can play your Margarita for free because you have a red-blue multicolor that's free, right? So now you have this card, which is going to allow you to negate one attack. Then if they attack again, you can activate battle to pitch another extra card from your hand to then draw a card and give your leader 11k. You can put any of these in the drop, preferably probably Cat Blow, so now you have the access to the, the warp effect, right? We have a non-god archetype card in this deck. I know, crazy. But this is probably one of the best blue cards for just stabilizing games in the mid to late game. This is a 2-drop that removes 3 battle cards on board. Also draws you a card. This card provides you with a board clear, an anti-counter, also just double strike potential. It's really good. I don't think anything's wrong with this card other than the fact that it's just not searchable, and if you bottom deck it, you probably won't see it again. So maybe bumping this up to 3 if you find it is valuable. But I think it's just really good. Just a really good card to play. It's going to give you what most blue decks, I guess, kind of struggle with, again, it's just like if you're not playing Oob, you don't have a lot of ways of just spot removing stuff, right? So and we don't have access to like some of the board wiping potential in some of the Invoker cards because your leader has to be U7. And again, not that we would want to play those because again we're adding more dead cards to our deck. So everything in our deck right now is really useful. These cards, again, we can pitch them off of Margarita, so like you have a lot of value in here, and I think Oob just kind of adds to that. Our secret rare of choice is going to be Baby Hatch. I think a lot of people are going to go right to Beast Gohan because of the burn effect. However, Baby Hatch just shuts off turns, right? It's almost impossible to stop now. There's like 3 counters in the in the game that can actually hit the card now. One of them is locked to a new deck coming out or a really old deck that's not very good. One we'll possibly talk about in this video, and the other one costs, 2 of them cost 5 energy. And then another one is really, really, like, Almighty Resistance is just something you're not going to see a ton of, right? Probably see it a little bit, but not a lot. This is just going to shut off turns, right? You negate an attack, opponent can't attack anymore. You can now pitch anything from your hand, so including those pesky extra cards if you need to get them into the drop. And it's a 40k body. So after turn 3, you always know you can basically skip your opponent's turn and go into your next turn, right? So whatever, if you're like, oh, I need to get the turn 5 so I can kill them, on turn 4 you just Baby Hatch them, and now they can't do anything, and then you kill them next turn, right? If that's, if you kind of have mapped out your turn already. So I think this is really solid to play. Probably catch a lot of people off guard, but I think this is the correct secret rare for the deck, unless they announce a red-blue secret rare for this deck. I'm making this video before they have announced that. So if they have announced that, then, it is what it is. Last 2 cards in the main deck. Dimension Magic Sensimine, that shouldn't really be a surprise to anybody. These are just 2 blue cards you're going to play every blue deck. So we're not going to spend too much time talking about Dimension Magic. So the Z deck, I spent some time looking through all the Z cards, and there's not a lot that have a lot of unique effects in this deck. Or benefit, because a lot of them, again, need U7 leaders. So we had to really improvise here. So this is the one that comes with the deck. Destruction of Mogna. This is a really good card. This allows you to... It is an extra card, so you can activate this from your hand, your Z deck for 1 energy, because you are activating, you can use the Invoker skill. This makes all of your Invoker battle cards cost 1 less in the combo. So all those 10Ks, all these 10Ks are free 0-10K combos, which is really, really good. You also can remove it from the game and give an Invoker Beerus card 15K. That's okay. But the actual effect is, I think, good enough just to make all of your cards free combos. And then this also permanent for Margarita as well, because it is a multicolor extra. Next, we have 2 of the Goku and Frieza unisons. It's allowing us to restand energy. Slightly better than the red-blue one that comes that was made for the old Invoker deck, because that card is not something we need to main deck. That's something you have to main deck, so we don't want to include unisons in our main deck. We would rather include it in the Z deck just so we can play it whenever we want to. 1 Black Kamehameha for defense or offensive purposes if we absolutely need it. 1 Son Goku. This is just like some anti-hand taxing. If our opponent has a huge hand, we can sort of tax them down to 10. If they have like a 16, 17 card hand, you go right down to 10. That kind of evens the playing field a little bit for you. 1 Beer's Area Annihilator. Trying to, again, find other cards to put in the deck just for value. This is just an okay one for helping us clear boards. Unisons, we have Deborah and Android 18, which we haven't talked about yet, but this is a newer... these two together basically form old Majin Buu Unison. So Deborah is a blocker, can attack twice, can bottom deck a card, restand an energy. So this is probably good for really late game. I think Android 18 is probably a little bit better now. Top effect doesn't work, but you can +1 to bottom deck any card that doesn't have barrier and then restand itself at the end of the turn. So it's a 20k double striker that pops anything, not ignoring barrier, and then restands itself for a blocker. That's pretty good. Or you can activate main if your opponent places 1 card from their hand at the bottom of their opponent's deck and switch out to 1 of your blue energy to active mode. So this, you can also, if you bottom deck a card, which we don't have anything in this deck that bottom decks, so you're not going to use this effect. But this effect you'll use. The top effect you will. Last one is Defender of Life, because we play red, and we charge red, so we can play this card. We do have some Saiyans with the 6-drop and the 3-drop, so this would work technically. You can play it for 3Z energy, 2 actual energy, 20k double striker, gains barrier, and then burns them a damage as well. All right. And then, so this side, these are just like some extra cards you can look at adding into your deck if you're trying to build this deck. These are 1-drop searchers. Again, you don't have a lot of turn 1 plays, and really your turn 1 play should be multicolor charging. But these are for if you're charging blue at some point, you're like, hey, I want to be able to search more stuff. 17 searches anything multicolor that's 6 or less, which is almost your entire deck. And then Guasu searches 6 or less gods. Blue, so again, a good chunk of your deck. They're not, I didn't include them in the main because I don't think they're good enough to be in the main, but if you were looking for other targets to use as searchers or just other value pieces, those are 2 okay ones. This card's really good. So this is a counter that is searchable because he is a god. It's a 5-cost counter. Bottom deck's a card ignoring barrier if you use it by the counter effect, but when this card's played, you choose it to 1 of your blue Zamasu cards with energy cost of 7 and restand it, which your Fused Zamasu here is a Zamasu, which again is a problem. They need to make these cards like Fused Zamasu. But right here it says Zamasu, so you can restand this guy if he's in your battle area. You also can pay 2 if you have 5 or more energy and a Zamasu with Indestructible in play, which the 7 cost is a Zamasu and has Indestructible. And when you play him, you can bottom deck 1 of your opponent's cards. So it's a 20k crit. You can utilize it as a counter. It's also has the ability of being played for 2, and it's a god, so it's searchable. So like this is like really cool. It's just a really cool, interesting little tech that you have. We have Heroic Prospect. We play the Unison Heroic Prospects live, of course. Defending Friends, another card. You can technically get the 3Z energy, but like once you use the 1Z energy for this, or the 1 Z energy for this, like you're not going to have a lot of Z energy. And if you're playing something using Z energy, you're in a bad state. So I don't know if this is necessarily what you're going to have a lot of Z energy. Like you might have a lot of Z energy, necessarily not playing a lot of Z battle cards. So I don't know if it would be live, but I'm sure you probably tried to fit into the deck because you're a blue deck and you need the defense. Some other just good cards. Topo, of course, we play, we charge red, so Topo's a really good battle card. Floodgate. Inspired Technique is probably something you would play in the red matchups because it's got barrier. Red has troubles dealing barrier cards. And if you have this guy on board and then turn 3 you slam this and then use this to restand energy, you have at least have an energy up, so you can like D-magic, go back up to 2, and now you have access to some of your Invoker cards. Divine Restraints, red-blue multicolor extra. I mean, you can charge it. It counterplays 20k battle cards. It's pretty good. No searchable effects or anything, but just a good counterplay to have. Chabo and Vado. So this actually might be something you should consider main decking if you're going to play this deck. So the activate main effect we don't care about. You get to add an extra card back. Add an extra card from your deck. But the permanent is actually, I think, is really cool. So you can charge this card, ignoring its energy exhaust, by warping a red and a blue card from your drop area. Now, why this is good is in most decks you would say, I don't want to remove my drop area, but if we can warp these extra cards, this allows us to activate Rival Seeker a little bit faster. right? Because we're not playing a lot of the extra cards that warp themselves other than Cat Blow. So this gives you the ability of being able to do that. And it's charged from any area. So whether we charge it on our charge phase, or if we use Zen-oh to place it down, we can still do that effect. It's a permanent effect. So we can also do it from there. I think this is something you might consider main decking. And I would say you can also probably just swap out the Beerus in Whis for Champavados, and then just use this effect for your other charging. So, Final Heat Felix. This is a counterplay. Gives your leader or a battle card 5k for the turn. Obviously, probably leader. And then bottom deck's a 6 cost being played. This is pretty good. Your leader has to be blue, so it works in this deck, of course. So this allows us to, if we have Invoker up, we have a counterplay for basically, a good chunk of the game, unless they have Deflect. Then also giving our leader a 5k bump for the turn as well is pretty cool. Then Death Beam you can use. I think this is probably going to be a side decked card if you're playing against like Vegeta Zen-oh or some deck that plays out a lot of 30ks. And then it also has the same Activate main effect where you can warp it to add the top card of the deck if it is a multicolor extra. And then Sleepy Boy Technique, just another hard negate, draws 2, bounces a card back. It's okay, but again, I think you want to utilize a lot of the newer extra cards just because of the value that they have. And you're not necessarily holding energy up for Invoker. Like, you're being more proactive offensively with these. Like, you're playing this, you might hold energy up for this, right? These are also 2, so at the end of the day, if you don't have Invoker, at least if you have 2 energy up, you can still activate one of these and still get the effect. So, but that is the Zen-oh deck. Again, I think this is probably a better build than what you're going to see some people build. If you see people just throwing in all the Invoker cards, like the Emperor's Death Beams, or running like 4 Cat Blows, I think that's a lot, and I think you probably have to reevaluate what you're trying to do with the deck. If they add more good blue God cards, there's a lot of other blue God cards like Goku Blacks and stuff that I just couldn't really fit into the deck because I needed to add. Like, I was trying to, like, I think this is still a little too high. It's at 55. I want to go down to like 53. Probably cut like one of these, but like there's some small things you can do. I think this is a pretty good fleshed out build. If you guys let me know if you guys are going to test this deck, play it. If you guys have some tips for people who are going to play it, leave it down below so the community can share those. And that's it. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you guys did. If you guys are going to be excited about playing this deck, or just another set deck that we're going to have in the next month here or so. So thank you guys for watching. As always, like and subscribe if you guys do enjoy the content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.